and exorcising demons of the past. It began with a brilliant performance from Doug Fister in June and culminated in September with a second division title in 3 years. Tonight, back in Atlanta, confident the right man is leading the way again.
The Nats back at Turner Field. Great memories of last September here. They make their 2015 debut. We've got some support in the house. Does he mean we're going to win 2 out of 3? Well, maybe more. We'll see. The Nats could use that. It's been a rough week. They've lost 5 in a row, longest losing streak in 2 years. Max Scherzer will not start tomorrow at Peace, so some things to overcome as the big series gets underway here.
Yeah, and the good memories we're talking about, we're going to show you in the Open today, and it's exactly what Matt Williams talked about before the game. Remember what got you here. Remember the good times and let her fly. So we figured why not show you some good times in the Open as we flash back to last year when everybody down the clubhouse was pouring champagne on each other, and Tanner Roark probably pitched the game of his life.
Yeah, he was fantastic on the road that night. Very workmanlike. He and Desmond hit a big home run. The Nats didn't need a whole lot of runs to win at that time, and they took care of business. The celebration was on shortly thereafter, and it was a wonderful night in Atlanta. Drew Storen closing the thing out with a routine ground ball to the right side, and the celebration was on.
And it's exactly what they're trying to get back to right here tonight. So maybe the fact that they're in Atlanta, they have these good memories. You wash away all of April. You pour champagne on each other's head last year. You got those memories. And you start it all over again today. At least that's our philosophy with the broadcast tonight. We're starting 2015 over again with some good memories here tonight.
I just hope we get paid for the games we already did that evidently mean nothing so far. And Doug Fister highlights against the Braves, both at home and on the road. He was just fantastic doing his thing.
Excuse me, Carp. This is the Yeah Baby game, right? When Matt Williams came out and said, "You got one more for me?" Yeah, baby. And he does his thing, the tip of the cap to the fans. And, you know, he's going to try to get back to that here tonight. The sinker hasn't been sinking for Doug Fister. We're going to talk about it a lot. But here it is. Matt Williams out to the mound. You got one more in you. Yeah, baby. And he gets the ground ball. And the place went nuts. So good feeling for Doug Fister. We're showing that. Good karma, good vibes. Here we go. Let's play this game right now.
Yeah, Doug Fister, 3-0 career against the Braves with an ERA of just over 1.2 runs a game. And with all this going on, there's still some offense out there that has to be fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, they got to start swinging the bats. But like Matt said before the game, let her fly. Don't think too much. Be aggressive. That's what made us a good team last year. So look for him to take the extra base tonight. Look for him to be aggressive and to just simply quit thinking about it. Go out there and play and have some fun.
New stadium on the way in Atlanta 2 years from now, a ball club that has a totally different look. Freddie Freeman is still here. He's always hurt the Nats with hits and RBIs. Andrelton Simmons, a good hitter, a tremendous shortstop. We'll take a look at how the Braves have changed when we bring you back to Turner Field.
The season series last year, 11-8. But as we showed you a few minutes ago, the Nats dominated the second half of the season to win the division going away. And the standings right now, not what everybody thought they would be maybe just a few weeks ago. The Mets are at Miami tonight. Dylan G and Jared Cozart. Atlanta hanging in at 9-9. Marlins have won 5 in a row. The Nats have lost 5 in a row. And right now tied with the Phillies.
I mean, if you got your cell phone, screenshot those standings. They're not going to be like that. You can say, I remember when the Nats were in last place in April.
Well, the Braves, a totally new look. We were all surprised when Craig Kimbrell went to San Diego. Justin Upton and his brother also to the Padres. Evan Gattis to Houston. Jason Hayward to St. Louis. Irvin Santana is gone. So there's a lot of load on Freddie Freeman, Andrelton Simmons, and some of the guys surrounding them right now.
Yeah, new faces, but when you talk to Braves people, the squad they have assembled is going to fight you. They've been playing hard. They haven't necessarily been playing too good, but they're going to give you a fight. So we'll see. Should be a good series.
Nats on the road are just 2-7. Maybe that guy in the old red, white, and blue and gold uniform will help. Worth in the lineup tonight. Bryce Harper, here we go. The Nats at the Braves. Bank for the Achiever in you. Well, just south of Atlanta, downtown that is, Turner Field. Their new ballpark will be up in the northern suburbs 2 years from now. And John Hart trying to engineer a turnaround here like he did in Cleveland. 66 at game time. Wind not much of a factor, although the big flag up on top of the video board in center field, moving from left to right, mostly cloudy skies. It's cool in Atlanta. The Nats are down to 218. The Phillies at 214. The only team hitting lower. Maybe Turner Field will get Jason Worth going. He's 7 for 41. Likes it here like a lot of hitters do. It's a big ballpark with huge gaps. But the ball, as a rule, carries pretty well in Atlanta. And the Nats will be facing Eric Stoltz for the 4th time ever.
Yeah, 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball. That's the numbers on the season. Last start against the Mets, he threw the fastball 48% of the time, the breaking ball 29%, and the changeup 22% of the time. He's been pitching in a lot to right-handers. He'll try to get you thinking about that fastball in, then drop the off-speed stuff away. And that last start I'm talking about, 1 run on 4 hits against the Mets last Wednesday. Got the no decision in the Braves' 3-2 loss.
Yeah, he left ahead. The bullpen let him down. And the Mets had a 4-game sweep of the Braves in that series. Atlanta, number 5 in the league defensively.
Johnson, Young, Markakis, the outfield. Simmons, Kayaspo, left side. Peterson, Freeman, right side. And A.J. Pierzynski, maybe the hottest hitter on the ball club, hitting 4th tonight, doing the catching.
Yeah, he has 13 hits over a 9-game hitting streak. And that counts every game he's played this year. Denard Span stepping in. Stoltz gets a strike up in the zone. We're underway right on time at 7:10. Denard 6 for 25 in 6 games, so he's been on base in every game since he's returned. That's a little bit away, according to Bill Welke, the home plate umpire. James Hoy John Tumpain, and over at third, the crew chief, John Hirschbeck. A little bit inside, good take by Span, 2-1. Denard 3 for 8 career with a walk and a double against the left-hander Eric Stoltz, 35 years of age. Braves signed him as a minor league free agent end of January. He made 55 starts the last 2 years with San Diego, going 19-30 overall. And I would have to say, of all of our times here, the smallest crowd at game time I've ever seen at Turner Field. Braves averaging 26,000 a game. Bouncer up the middle. To his right, Jace Peterson, and a great pick by Freddie Freeman saves the out for Atlanta.
Boy, that was real interesting. Did you notice Denard Span in what he was saying to himself before that pitch? He was saying fastball, 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 fastball. Then he hits the chopper to second base. Peterson with a nice play to retire Span. Bang, bang at first base.
Freddie Freeman doing the big stretch right there. Here's Ryan Zimmerman.
The Braves have been struggling on defense. They committed just 1 error through their first 12 games, but they've had 9 errors in their last 6.
Zimmerman lifting one deep right center. Eric Young Jr. will run it down in the gap.
So Matt Williams putting Ryan Zimmerman in the 2-hole tonight. And the message of the day was be aggressive. Remember what got you here. Remember the good times. And I like that message. You see Zimmerman going up there swinging at the first pitch. And I think you're going to see a lot of aggressive base running tonight and a lot of aggressive swinging at the plate.
Jason Worth, 3 for 5 career against Stoltz. Outfield around to the right, big gap left center.
And a lot of aggressive broadcasting.
Well, you know what? I'm really in favor of that base running thing, because that'll mean men are on base. And that's what's got to start happening on a regular basis. And getting some lines moving here.
But you're not for the aggressive broadcasting?
If it's an aggressive game, I'll be aggressive myself.
All right. That's what I want to hear, part.
They dictate it down there. We're just the messengers. 2-1. We're at 7 for 41 since returning. 12th ball game. Stoltz working quickly. And that ball other side will be out of play. Braves at home, 3-3. In the division, Nats are 4-6. Atlanta 7-8. As we mentioned, half of those losses against the Mets.
Yeah, the reports on Stoltz, he's throwing a lot more inside than he used to. Trying to get you aware in there. You see right there, he tried to speed Jason up with 89.
4.50 ERA, career 4.13. Worth knew it was low, and down to first base he goes. Good at bat.
That was close. Wow. Let's see that again on pitch track. 3-2 pitch. Stoltz thought he had him. Pitch track thought it was a strike.
And here's Bryce Harper, greeted warmly by the Atlanta crowd, as always.
They still think he's Bruce.
They love Bryce here. Tied for third in the league with 5 home runs. He's 1 for 3 career against Eric Stoltz. Pulls one right side over to get it, Jace Peterson, and the Nats are gone. So after a walk, Harper swings at the first pitch. The Nats strand their first runner of the night. Tied with the Nats with 16 home runs. Andrelton Simmons, third among Major League Baseball shortstops, behind a guy we just saw in Miami, Danny Echeverria. Starlin Castro of the Cubs a little lower on that list, so some RBI shortstops in the National League. There's Nick Markakis, the leadoff guy, longtime Oriole. He's off to a good start in his home state. Doug Fister, fourth career start against Atlanta.
Yeah, in his last start, he threw the fastball 75% of the time. The slider 4, the curveball 7, the changeup 14, the fastball is 87. If you remember his last outing against the Cardinals, 6 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those earned. The sinker was up, some home run damage by Matt Carpenter and Colton Wong, I believe. So the key for Doug Fister tonight, keep the ball down, get that sinker sinking, get it out front. We're going to talk about his release point a lot and keep an eye on it.
First career start at Turner Field, but he's 3-0 with a 1.23 ERA against the Braves. Nick Markakis and him know each other very well. Nick 8 for 22 against him with a home run. Counts even 1-1. And Markakis is hitting .339 with an on-base percentage of .438.
First pitch from Doug Fister was 83.
2-1. Ball 3. Markakis, power numbers down in recent years. Hasn't hit more than 15 home runs since '09. 14 with the Orioles last year. And that was in 155 games. Outside, Doug Fister, who suddenly has walked as many men as he struck out, gives the leadoff man a free pass.
Set the defense for the Nats behind Doug Fister. Worth, Span, Harper, your outfield. Desmond Escobar left side. Espinosa Zimmerman right side. Wilson Ramos behind the plate. So I talked to Mark Mulder today, and we were talking about the sinker, and Doug Fister's sinker, to be exact, and why it's high. And he had a great analogy. He said, whenever my sinker was high, I was kind of spinning out of there, and I always thought about throwing down a hallway. And he said, if I was spinning out of there, then my arm would hit the side wall or my elbow would hit the side wall. But if I stayed on plane and got it out front, I'm not going to hit the walls of the hallway. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Desmond out to get it. Danny Espinosa peeled off and headed back to the bag. And Andrelton Simmons, jammed by Fister, pops up.
So this is his last start, and the sinker was up. And if you watch his release point, we're going to stop it. He's kind of spinning to the side, and he's a short strider. And see where his arm is right there? It's got a long way to go to get to the release point, right? So there's a lot of things going on. And if he gets it out front, it's a matter of inches on the release point. And you see right there, his fingers are kind of on the side of the baseball. He's spinning off, and the ball's been up. And when you kind of rotate, it's hard to explain, not toward the third baseline, and more you throw your glove toward the catcher, and your front shoulder is buried toward the catcher, and your head follows. Now you get it out front, and you get that true sink on it. It's just a mechanical thing. And I think at times, Carp, that he works so fast and his wind-up so fast that it acts against him, and his arm kind of drags, and that's why he's been high so far this year. The arm is dragging.
Freddie Freeman, he lashes one down the right field corner way. Bryce Harper over to get it. Momentary bobble. Still a chance at second, but the throw is offline. If Bryce gets that ball anywhere near the bag, they had a shot at Freddie Freeman.
Well, Freddie Freeman's ownage of the Nats continues. I mean, when you look at his career numbers against the Nats, he has very rarely made an out. 73 career games. He's hit .323, 9 home runs, 42 RBIs, and he starts this one up with a double. Maybe a single and an error. We'll see how they score. Yeah, he stopped at second. They'll probably give Bryce an error on that ball. Or did they call it a double? Called it a double.
Second and third, one out. A.J. Pierzynski, who was with the Red Sox for just 72 games last year, then 30 in St. Louis, is on a tear. Left field, Worth. Markakis coming home. Worth's throw, another offline throw. Runner safe at third. Braves lead 1-0. If Worth gets that online, there would have been a shot. That quickly, Atlanta using the leadoff walk to take the lead.
I see Worth getting behind it. and just kind of sails up the line a little bit. Markakis pretty good speed, beats it easily, throw up the line. And I'm seeing a lot of fly balls here early in the first, and that's not a good sign.
And 2 fly ball outs, a line drive double. Here's Alberto Callaspo. Nats saw him in Oakland last year, where he had 223 for the A's in 127 games.
That's a good sinker. That was out front on top. He had that late run.
Other thing about being here at Turner Field, and we've noticed this over the years, the center field cameras are a little lower than they are in a lot of ballparks. See how the pitcher stands as tall as the batter there, although Doug is 6'8". But on most shots, it's up higher, and you get more of an uphill look from pitcher to catcher. Those guys are only about just a little more than halfway up the batter's eye. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Callaspo. Off to a .261 start. And he is 6 for 17 career against Doug Fister with a home run.
Pretty good pitch right there. Well, you remember Jason Worth's 3-2 pitch? This might have been in the same spot. They were both called balls, so Bill Welke consistent on both sides.
Yeah, and that's not good for Fister. Bill Welke on the Mercedes-Benz pitch track. And now Doug Fister has walked more men this year than he has struck out. Not that he's a strikeout guy, but he's just walking way more people than we're used to seeing. He'll take on the left-handed batter, Kelly Johnson.
Last year, Doug Fister had 25 starts. He walked 24 batters, so more starts than walks.
This year, 4th start, and that was walk number 9. Kelly Johnson, 219 with the Yankees last year, 4 hits with the Red Sox, 231 with Baltimore. He was all over the American League East last year. The Braves brought him back as a minor league free agent January 17th. Started his career here back in '05. Appeal on the swing, John Hirschbeck says no. Good movement on that. He really slowed down the curveball right there. Wilson Ramos, and it's over the screen. Kelly Johnson 1 for 3 career against Doug. That is right in there. Kelly Johnson checked his swing, called 3rd strike. Former Brave Yunel Escobar. Ian Desmond, Wilson Ramos, the Nats are down by 1 early. Second, Escobar, Desmond, Ramos for the Nats.
He's ready. Call him up. Attitude. Ready to rock.
13 pitches, 7 strikes by Eric Stoltz in the top of the first inning. Big ballpark. Second last year of its existence. Let's go inside the numbers, brought to you by Jeep. And Yunel Escobar on base 16 games in a row. Matt Holliday and Matt Carpenter, we saw that act in D.C. last week. And Marcell Ozuna for the Marlins.
Bryce Harper and Denards goes back to last year.
Yeah. Man, that's something when you've been on base for 8 months.
That's a tough off season. Gotta get off your feet.
Here's Escobar. 8-game hitting streak, 15 of his last 16. Hit safely. There have been times when Eric Stoltz didn't want much to do with him. He's walked him 3 times. Escobar career against the lefty, 0 for 2. Yunel Escobar started his big league career in 07 for the Braves. They drafted him back in 05. 326, 288, 299, 238 here. He was hurt, though, the year he hit 238. On the charge, a busy Jace Peterson. He's had 3 assists already. When the Nats win, everybody does all season long. Nats win and score 7 or more. You get 50% off regular menu price online orders, papajohns.com, with promo code NATS50. It's valid at participating D.C., Maryland, and Northern Virginia locations. Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, official pizza of your Washington Nationals. Strike to Ian Desmond. 0 for his last 10, coming off a rough series in Miami. And he drills one out to right center. That ball really carrying. And Eric Young Jr. will run it down. You've got to have a center fielder in this ballpark who can really fly.
Well, I like the approach so far. Ryan Zimmerman going the other way hard. And now Ian Desmond doing the same thing, and he got a bell-tie fastball. Supposed to be down the way. And Eric Young Jr. gets on his horse and makes a very nice running catch going to right center field. So a hard hit ball, and look at Young reach out. Now, both pitchers very similar tonight. They're going to try to turn the ball over, keep it down, make you get yourself out, hit some ground balls, and let their defense contribute behind them.
Here's Wilson Ramos. What else? A strike on the outside edge. Facing Stoltz for the first time. Wilson 15 for 60. He's had 11 hits over his last 9 ball games. And he goes low and in after the other pitch outside, 2-2.
I mean, if you're paying attention to the Nats dugout, you've seen the video on Stoltz. He's starting everybody out away with a sinker, and then he's trying to pop you in late. So, I mean, it's been identical to every single hitter. He's getting in a pattern here early.
And Ramos hits it squarely the other way, but Peterson right there. So the Nats have had some hard hit balls early, but the Braves on the Przynski sac fly have a 1-0 lead.
Desmond and a play he made against Ichiro in Miami. And one of the better plays he's made, and he made it yesterday. If you remember Game 1 against the Cardinals, Gio Gonzalez was pitching. He was having the defensive difficulties. He made a very similar play to this. He also turned a really nifty double play, and I think that play against the Cardinals is when things started slowing down for the Nats shortstop. You look at the first 12 games, no bueno, but the last 7 games have been nice. So going to be a little bit of a challenge here in this field. Here at Turner Field, the infield is very quick. It's a Bermuda surface, and it's really mowed short. The dirt is hard. So you talk to infielders that come in here and play, there's an adjustment period, especially with a ground ball guy going like Doug Fister, where you really have to be on your toes. That's a great shot of it right there. The ball's going to get on you a tick quicker than you're used to because of this fast playing surface.
And when it gets warm and this field bakes really fast. So never stop improving with Lowe's and Ian Desmond. That play was on John Jay, leading off the 8th inning in Washington last week. This is Jace Peterson, another former Padre. They're everywhere around here. Came in the trade from San Diego for the Uptons and a right-handed pitcher, Aaron Northcraft, back in November. Base hit. On a pitch up.
You know, it is up, Carbon. My wheels are spinning right now because Doug Fister's fastball has been between 83 and 87 miles an hour. And why is that a big deal? Well, then the off-speed stuff is right in the same area, too. So he's really got to rely on sync if he doesn't have that velocity. If you remember last year, it was, 87, 88, 89. He popped 90, 91 at times. And it could be a mechanical thing. As a pitcher, if you're thinking about your mechanics, the ball's just not going to come out as free and easy as it normally does. But right now, the sink isn't where we're used to seeing it, or he's used to seeing it, more importantly. And the velocity's just a tick down, and that could be a difference.
Pretty dramatic when there's only 4 miles an hour or so between the speed of your fastball and taking a little bit off. Eric Young Jr. off to a 189 start. But he has driven in 4 runs. He's stolen 3 bases. He's just not getting any hits from the left side. He's batting $196 from this side of the plate. He's a .252 career hitter. That one with swing back action. No balls, 2 strikes, inside edge. Nissan will track it.
You see that shot from right over the top of Doug Fister's head. Started it off the plate, ran it back. Nice pitch. Looking for that ground ball right here.
So he goes away. Ball's pretty well hit. Worth back a bit to his right for the first out.
Nats Plus is back for 2015 and features incredible benefits, including discounts, exclusive events, and more for a limited time. New members can also receive an official 10th anniversary Nats jersey. That's while supplies last. Visit nationals.com/Nats Plus and join today.
Here's Eric Stoltz. Could be bunting with 1 out to try to get Peterson to second base for a good hitter, and Nick Markakis took a stab at that one. He has a sacrifice bunt this year. 21 in his big league career. Jace Peterson stole a couple of bases for the Padres last year without being caught. Stole 148 in the minor leagues. Ball deadened. Fister took a look at second briefly. On to Espinoza. The sacrifice is good. 1-4.
Oh, nice job by Stoltz right there. He knew he had a plus runner, and Jace Peterson didn't have to get too fancy with it. Just bunted it back to Doug Fister, and high fives in the Braves dugout.
And here's Nick Markakis, originally drafted by the Reds twice. Didn't sign with them either time. Went to junior college. Orioles got him in the first round, 7th overall pick 12 years ago.
About lead off the last couple of games.
Yeah.
for the Braves.
And he did some of that for the Orioles last year.
He's 2 for 8, a couple of runs, a couple of walks, and walked his first time up here tonight.
His first full year in the big leagues was Ryan Zimmerman's first full year. And I remember one time when we had the Orioles into Nationals Park. I think we had just moved into the new ballpark. We interviewed both of them, Zimmerman and Markakis. They were both the young faces of their franchises at that time. And here's Nick in his native Georgia with the Braves. They signed him as a free agent. 0-2 pitch. Up and away. That was a foul tip. That ball really jammed him, and it slammed off the barrier right over by the cameras at the home plate end of the Braves dugout.
Well, that was a nice little cutter / slider thing, and you know he gets that going and makes left-handed hitters aware that it can come toward him, and then the run-back fastball, you'll start seeing some ground balls. Markakis might have broke his bat.
Good speed at second base with 2 outs. Markakis walked to lead off the game for the Braves after the Freeman double scored on the Przinski sac fly. Throw in behind the runner, and Desmond had to reach back from where the runner just came.
Jace Peterson got off there pretty far once he saw it in the dirt, but you got to be sure with 2 outs. Kind of hung out there a little bit too long, and that's what drew the throw from Wilson Ramos.
And you can see in the background, Denard Span was on the move in from center field, just in case. Oh, good throw, gets him, and he got him. Desmond on the daylight play, in behind Jace Peterson, and a base runner cannot let that happen when he's in scoring position.
Look at Ian Desmond, heads up on the daylight play. Perfect tag. Desmond looking at Doug Fister between pitches and saying, hey, we got something going here. Watch the eye contact. Here's Ian Desmond in the runner, And Doug Fister's looking straight at Ian Desmond, and this is called a daylight play. When Fister sees the daylight between Desmond and the runner, he spins and throws. It's something you work on in spring training, but you see Desmond break. Peterson late once again. And a nice job with a runner out there to score. A little heads-up play by Ian Desmond, but that's more just eyes of the pitcher and the shortstop looking at each other between pitches, and maybe just a little head nod like, let's do this. He saw it. Fister was ready for it. Attention to detail, fundamentals. That could turn out to be a big play in this game.
Sure could. One of your better hitters up there.
It might pick you up, too, you know. Get the dugout going a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like it's a turning point right now.
Could be.
We'll see if the guys can bear that out. Espinosa, Fister, Span. Danny hit a home run last week, and since that home run, he's 2 for 24. He's batting right-handed, hasn't faced a lefty in a while. And from this side of the plate, he's 0 for 5. Three for 7 career against Stoltz with a home run. Puts a charge into that one out into right center. Eric Young again. Can't get it this time. Nats get a bad break as it hits that hard warning track and goes into the seats. Danny Espinosa would have had 3 bags easily, but it's a leadoff double, and Doug Fister could put him on third.
Well, there goes the no-hitter, and Danny Espinosa gets it done in the 8th spot tonight. So all 3 hard-hit balls by the Nats have been to right center field today. First Ryan Zimmerman, then Ian Desmond, and now Danny Espinosa. And look at Eric Young Jr. laying out for that. What a great effort by the Brave center fielder. You love the hustle by Young Jr. And you're right, that's at least 3 bases if the ball stays in the ballpark, at least.
Yeah, Markakis was in the neighborhood. Infielders pinching at the corners. Doug Fister, 12 career sacrifice bunts. Lefty here, not easy. But he pushes it perfectly to the third baseman. Only play to first. Espinosa 90 feet away from getting this game tied.
I just love the effort right there. The pickoff at second, the sacrifice bunt. Doug Fister's playing baseball tonight, folks. This is good stuff. He knows he's got a good runner on second base, so just get the bunt down. Not only does he get it down, it's in a perfect place. Espinosa cruises easily into third. Now it's up to Denard Span to tie this ball game up, at least.
Early in the ball game, Freddie Gonzalez playing his infield in. Well, it pays off even with a bag. Callaspo, 2 outs.
Well, even if his infield wasn't in, that wouldn't have scored Espinosa just because it was hit to a corner.
It's up to Zimmerman with 2 outs, and as FP said, Ryan hit the ball well the opposite way last time. Nats have been pretty good with 2 outs. With the offense, hitting .278, third highest in baseball behind the Royals and the Padres. Problem is, a lot of those have been 2 outs, nobody on hits. Now a chance to take one of those base hits and produce a run. Two and 0. Stoltz career record 35 and 44. 130th game, 108th start. 1-1 with a high ERA, 5.17 in 3 previous games against the Nats. Zimmerman jacks one to left. That ball hooking way over Kelly Johnson. And the Nats will parlay a couple of doubles into a tie game here in the 3rd inning. That's Ryan Zimmerman's 10th RBI in his last 12 games, and he's done it with 7 extra base hits.
Well, nice job of picking up Denard Span, picking up your team. And a big 2-out knock from the Nats first baseman. So he went to right center first time. Got an off-speed pitch there, caught her out front. So a 2-out double scores Danny Espinosa, and Jason Worth looking to do the same thing, and some high fives in that third base dugout.
So Worth could put the Nats on top. He worked a walk on a 3-2 pitch first time. Went around.
I think he's going commando tonight. I don't think he's got an undershirt on. Maybe he does. I remember they did that for a while last year. Rally chest hair. Why not?
Up and in, ball 2.
I'm telling the truck I didn't need that much of a close-up on that shot, but what are you going to do?
Well, you brought it up.
Oh, HD is a beautiful thing. Sometimes.
And Jason trying to get a foothold in there with the spikes. Counts 2-1. Big hole, left center. And a big infield hole right where Ryan Zimmerman leads off. As mentioned, first time up, good success against Stoltz for Jason Worth, 3 for 5. And he had to swing at that off-speed pitch. It was close enough. And Worth pulls another one, well foul.
Yeah, I think when you're coming off the DL and you didn't have a spring training, the more pitches Jason Worth sees, the better. Even if he's not having the results he's wanted. He's lined out a bunch since he's been back. It's not like he's that far away. But the more times he can go deep into a count, I mean, you're getting timing, you're making adjustments in the middle of an at-bat, in the middle of a game. It's all good stuff. And it's only a matter of time before, he's dropping 2 spots every night because he can hit.
Pretty much everything middle in to Worth on the Mercedes pitch track. And another taken, third strike for Jason Worth. Stoltz, first K of the night. The Nats get a leadoff double going the other way from Danny Espinosa. And then after the sacrifice by Pfister, the span grounder, Ryan Zimmerman just hits a rocket to left to tie this thing up.
for the Nationals tomorrow. His sprained right thumb is still an issue, so the Nationals are going to bump his start back at least a couple of days. So who are they turning to tomorrow? Well, we still don't know. It could be Tanner Roark if Roark isn't needed today, and if the Nationals don't need to get heavy use out of their bullpen. But if they do need Roark, or if their bullpen gets taxed tonight, they might have to turn to A.J. Cole, who had his start tonight scratched at AAA Syracuse. He could come up and make his Major League debut tomorrow. Another injury note for you. Anthony Rendon scratched from his rehab start tonight at AA Harrisburg. The Nationals say he's just feeling a little bit of fatigue. They're going to give him an extra day off.
Well, that's good news, because the first thing we thought about when we heard Rendon was scratched, oh no, not another one. So thanks, Dan, with our Coons.com sideline report. When you're talking cars, you're talking Coons. Nick Markakis was at the plate watching Jace Peterson get picked off second. Moments later, the Nats tied the game. That was a big sequence ending the second inning. Chopper, one hop, Escobar to his right. Pulls Zimmerman off the bag, and Ryan stays on, according to James Hoy. And here comes Freddie Gonzalez.
Tough call for James Hoy right there, and we'll all take a look at it in a second again. I couldn't tell real speed if Ryan did some sort of tiptoe job over there and stayed on the base, and it looked like he might have drug his right foot on the base initially. Let's see, does the right foot go on the base right there? And I don't know if they're going to review this. I think he was out.
Yeah, Freddie Gonzalez looking at his dugout, and I think his guys told him not worth the challenge. Great play by Zimmerman, saving his third baseman an error.
For a guy that hasn't played first base a whole lot, the footwork right there by Ryan Zimmerman was just one thing, pure athlete. I mean, he doesn't really know how to do it over there like that yet. He just reacted.
Having a nice discussion with his umpire. Maybe Terry Pendleton over there too. Terry played some third base and first base in his big league career. Here's Andrelton Simmons, who got jammed by Pfister. Popped up to Desmond in short center, first time up. Some pop on that running heater, 85 to the outside edge. Perfect location.
It's subtle, but if you've seen Doug Pfister in the past, his delivery is a little more slow tonight. It's not as quick. Watch his windup. It's been real quick at times this year. And I think that might be the problem. Sometimes he goes too fast. But tonight his delivery is nice and slow.
How to play right side. And he had Simmons reaching for that one. A couple of ground ball outs to get the third inning going, with Freeman coming up.
Come out to Nats Park Monday, May 4th, as the Nats take on the Marlins. That starts at 7:05. First 25,000 fans get a Livan Hernandez bobblehead that's presented by PNC Bank. It's a special bobblehead. It commemorates the first pitch on April 4th, 2005. It's the first bobblehead in the gray uni. So visit Nationals.com to purchase your tickets today.
They've given Bryce Harper an error on that Freeman play back in the second inning. So single, E9 got him to second.
I thought that was the case because Freeman stopped. Whenever you see a runner stop and then start again, he's going because of the drop.
Well, somebody in Atlanta lobbied for Bryce Harper to get an error. That'll be his first of the year. The run still earned because Markakis was going to score anyway. And a little bump into right center. Boy, Freddie Freeman doesn't have to hit the ball anywhere near the sweet spot to do damage against the Nats.
Well, he was struggling at 235, and that was probably his game plan. If I could just stay around 230, the Nats get into town. I'll be okay. So his .323 career average goes up as he's 2 for 2 here.
AJ Pierzynski on a 9-game hitting streak, sac fly first time. No interest at all in that first pitch. It was inside.
None.
Pulls it. Zimmerman, backhand play. What an inning for Ryan Zimmerman. He keeps the Braves off the board when you consider the throw by Escobar, then a base hit, and this would have been an RBI hit.
AJ Pierzynski got his ball club on the board with a sac fly to left. Jason Worth's throw ran up the line. I don't even know if it was a good throw and it would have had him. So that's how the Braves got on the board. How'd the Nats get on the board? Well, Denard Span couldn't drive in Danny Espinosa, and Ryan Zimmerman picks him up with a 2-out double. And that's where we're at, 1-1, some Geico highlights.
Yeah, not to mention the run Zimmerman just took away from the Braves single-handedly. So he's the player of the game so far. Harper, Escobar, Desmond, top of the 4th inning. Wind blowing hard toward the right field corner right now. Flags have come alive here.
He's like, Dad.
Somebody not happy.
Why are you a Nats fan, Dad? I'm a Braves fan. Or maybe he got a sunflower seed stuck in his throat.
Yeah, not off to a great start with the seeds. Bryce Harper swings at the first pitch for the second time tonight. First time up, grounded out to second.
Not happy.
That Nats run really got to him. Maybe Dad's favorite player is Ryan Zimmerman. 1-1 to Harper. On base 16 of his last 19 games. Boy, they're in the top of the 5th inning in Miami. Mets Marlins scoreless. Dylan G, Jared Cozart in that one. They started 5 minutes before this one. They're in the 5th inning. That one stays up and in, ball 2. Little frisbee action down and away.
I don't know if there's a stat for it, but I think at least more than, I don't know, half of his at-bats have been 3-2 this year, it seems like.
17 walks, still leads baseball. And Bryce Harper draws another one. His discipline at the plate has been amazing. Second walk by Stoltz. You know, an Escobar who doesn't often hit right behind Bryce Harper is a good hit and run man. If you want to put something on here, FP, loves going the other way, makes contact. You got a good base runner. Nats haven't had a chance to do a whole lot of that.
Well, he's a good guy to hit behind a runner, whether or not they put on a hit and run or not. He's got a nice hold over there created by the leadoff walk, and I'm sure he's thinking first and third, nobody out.
So Stoltz tries to jam him a bit, and he gets a strike on the inside edge.
You know, when you talk about the early season problems the Nats are having, you know, we talked a lot about it in the post-game show yesterday. Matt Williams said, you know, be aggressive. That's what got you here. But it's a personal thing. I mean, you have to take the way you're playing as a ball club personally as a professional athlete at this point and elevate your own game. And if you elevate your own game on a personal basis, bring everybody with you, that's how you get out of this thing. It's not about team meetings and rah-rah and cheerleading, none of that, because the schedule's coming, and it's coming fast and furious. But it's all about taking the way you're playing right now personally and elevating your own game. And if everybody does that in that dugout down there, in that clubhouse, they'll start winning ball games.
Oh, look at Escobar. That ball is just foul. On an 0-2 pitch when they were jamming him, he almost put one in the right field corner.
Man, trying to hit behind the runner, just missed.
Nats 2 hits, Braves 3. But Washington put those doubles back to back, or rather together at least in the third inning by Espinosa and Zimmerman. 0-2 again. Escobar jammed and stays alive.
Man, it's such a tough out. I love watching this guy hit. I mean, he has a game plan. He's trying to work the ball the other way, keep his hands inside every single time. And he has energy. You just love what he's got going on, the whole thing. Didn't know a whole lot about him before he came here, but he's been the most consistent player in April. And fun to watch.
Pulls another one, and that goes foul before getting to the bag.
Six pitch coming, still an 0-2 count. Probably love to have a big series against his former ball club.
He was traded from here to Toronto in a big 5-player deal prior to the 2010 season. Not a good throw by A.J. Przinsky, and Freddie Freeman came forward to grab it on a short hop.
Got to check that ball, don't you?
You would think.
Guys don't think about checking the baseball on a pickoff throw when it hits the dirt. There's a big scuff on that ball right now. Let's see if Eric Stoltz knows how to use it.
Target in again. Harper back standing, plenty of time. Leadoff walk here in the fourth.
Bryce got something going on right there, going back to the bag.
Didn't look comfy.
No.
Escobar strikes out on an 80 changeup, down and away. That's the only pitch he saw in that sequence that was not in on his hands.
So going back into the bag, what happens here?
You slip on top of the bag, maybe?
Well, maybe we'll see it here unless Tarasco's in the way. Oh, it looked like he just kind of rolled his ankle.
Next up, Ian Desmond, who hit the ball really hard first time. This one into the twilight, right field for Nick Markakis. FP's point taken a step further here by Dan with more from the clubhouse.
Bob, Matt Williams said today that he's kind of reminded his guys, when you're in a slump of some kind, it's human nature to think about what's going wrong or what you're not doing. Williams wants his guys to flip that switch and instead remember what they do well when they're in the zone and try and replicate that. And as FP was just talking about, Williams wants his guys to continue to keep a very aggressive mindset. He told his players to stick to their style, be aggressive, let it fly, and play the game, have some fun. That's what he wants their focus to be right now.
See if some two-out hitting can get something done here. Ramos hit the ball sharply the other way first time. Ground ball to Jace Peterson. Right where he is now, shaded up the middle against the right-handed batter.
If you're aggressive, you come to play every day. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen in 2 or 3 games. But if you keep doing it on a consistent basis, you're going to win way more games than you lose when you have as much talent as this ball club has.
Busted bat, and Ramos pops it up to Jace Peterson. Nats get a leadoff walk. Harper never got beyond first. Washington in a tie game is stranded 3.
Kind of one going to the bottom of the 4th. Attention, all Nats fans. Masson wants to upgrade your fan cave. Show us how you're backing the Nats while the team is on the road by tagging your tweets using hashtag NatsCouchCam to be automatically entered to win autographed memorabilia. Follow at Masson Nationals on Twitter or at Fightin' Hydrant on Twitter for more information. I had to throw my Twitter.
That's the second game in a row you did that.
Just
how many handles you got? That's not the one you mentioned the other day.
Self-promoter.
The other one was what, Instagram?
Yeah, FP Santangelo's up.
Okay. But who's counting? Alberto Callaspo walked his first time, base hit this time. That's his 7th career hit in 18 at-bats against Doug Fister. Braves a hit in each inning so far. Next up, Kelly Johnson. Runner on the move. Base hit. It'll be first and third, nobody out. Braves getting frisky second time through.
We talked earlier how this team's going to fight you and how they've played hard all season long. They might be a little bit short in their lineup. But Freddie Gonzalez has to be pleased with the effort from his ball club early in the season. Gambles on a hit and run right there. It pays off.
Jace Peterson looking to atone for his base running mistake. He hits one hard to center, Span there. Two runners tagging. There's a play at second, and a good pick by Espinoza on not an easy hop. The Braves take the lead on the sac fly, but it's an 8-4 double play.
I have a question for you after we see the replay. Denard Span, nice job of getting rid of this. Good communication saying that the trail runner, Kelly Johnson, was tagging up Espinoza with a nice pick and a tag.
Is your question, do you get the RBI on a fly ball double play?
But I just heard the scorekeeper with the announcement, so
Yeah.
I'm going to save the stupid question to you. But I thought that might be considered a fielder's choice right there and take the sac fly away and the RBI away because he actually caught the ball, threw a runner out.
Yeah.
And on a sac fly.
Yeah, fly ball's a sac fly either way.
So that sac fly supersedes the throw out at second base, and it's still a sac fly.
Yeah, he still gets the RBI. That would be really unfair to a hitter to punish him for a line drive like that. Ground ball on the infield, yeah, some of them are hard hit, but it is on the infield. So Peterson gets the RBI. Braves on top. The Nats turn their 21st double play of the year. That's 5th in the league. Eric Young Jr., the hitter, flips one the other way. Look out. That was not an easy pick. Plus a tag by Danny Espinoza.
No. Good throw by Span. Good tag by Espinoza.
I'm not sure I've ever written in my book DPSF with a dot for an RBI. You just don't see that.
That's why I asked you.
Where you turn a double play on a sacrifice fly.
And I guarantee you Jace Peterson's asking in the dugout if that's a sac fly or an at-bat or just something you don't see every day, but a nice at-bat.
He did get his 5th ribby of the year. Or ribeye, or steaks as you players call them. Eric Young, fly ball to left first time, and Pfister goes down and in there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Big curveball fouled. Twilight time can be a little tricky here in Atlanta. There are no outfield lights behind the outfielders to illuminate the ball for them.
Oh, but there's an 8,000 square foot scoreboard that's pretty bright.
With the highest wattage of any TV screen in the world, probably. But the Braves did that so that they would have unobstructed views, the fans would, of the downtown skyline. Kind of like what Nationals Park is. Stan Kasten had a hand in a little bit of both of those designs, and we don't have many outfield lights at our ballpark either. There's not a light standard from the left field corner all the way over to well beyond the right field pole.
It's a perfectly good stadium. I don't know why they're building a new one.
Long at bat, a lot of... And Doug Pfister loses his ball cap. Nobody on base, not a balk. Zimmerman backs up. A lot of overspin on that ball. And Ryan's had a good night at first base. Pfister covering.
I've always wondered how he's never done this because he barely misses his hat every windup. But watch Doug Pfister hitting himself in the hat, puts it right back on, goes to business, and gets the ground ball out. You can't stop him. At Nats Park on Tuesday, May 5th, as the Nats play the Marlins, 7:05 start. Taking the second 10-year Tuesday of the season, will feature video highlights from the past 10 years and more. The first 10,000 fans also receive a collectible 10-year anniversary bottle stopper. There it is. I like that. I want one of those. For tickets, go to nationals.com.
Nice.
That is the weighted sleeve that goes on your bat in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, they were going to have a weighted sleeve night, but it was too heavy to ship. It'd have to be like the first 10 fans. Top of the fifth. Now the Nats are behind again. Here's Danny Espinosa. Hit the ball about 390 last time on a shot that bounced into the right field seats for a ground rule double.
First right-handed hit of the year.
Yeah. Espinosa now 4 for 8 career against Stoltz. So one of those things where he bats right-handed, gets a good look at this guy.
Well, his timing's definitely right with the leg kick. A lot of times a hitter, you could tell more from taking a pitch than anything. He's on time.
Breaking ball stays up and away, ball 3. Sure want your number 8 hitter aboard to start an inning. Pfister has laid down a great bunt. He's next. Borderline, it's on the corner, 3-1. Right back below us. That wind's still blowing. It shifted a bit. A little more out to right center than it was earlier. And Espinosa hits this one out of play. And now the flag has it coming in a little bit. Just shifting all over the place here. Cool night. 66 at game time. Espinosa on what was probably ball 4 gets himself a base hit. Danny staying back, FP, like you remarked, timing looking good from this side of the plate. He's 2 for 2.
They got the big leg kick going, but it's been on time on all of his takes. He does a nice job right here, just staying through the ball and flipping it to right. You see that foot down nice and early, kind of sweeping the bat through the zone. His bat stays in the zone much longer from the right side than it does from the left side.
Yeah.
And that was a good example with the side swing shot right there.
Yeah, notice that again on a swing and a miss in the second inning, or third inning. Real flat coming through. Can Pfister do it again? This time he's going to pull it. Nice job. Got Pfister 2 for 2 on the sacrifices here.
Well, didn't you say yesterday that Gio Gonzalez had the first sacrifice bunt for a Nats pitcher this season? Doug Pfister,
He
2
did.
for 2 here tonight.
That was lovely.
There he goes. Love for getting the bunt down. I just love the way he put his hat right back on, didn't smile, didn't anything, got right back in the zone and got the out the next pitch. That was great.
Yeah, when it comes to losing your ball cap, act like you've been there before.
I'm sure he has. He barely misses it every windup.
Denard Span has 2 RBIs. He's pulled 1 ground ball tonight, gone the other way on another. Callaspo even with the bag at third, about 10 feet off the line. Simmons up the middle a bit. There's a lot of room over there. Now Simmons retreats to more of a natural shortstop position. That ball popped up. Easy grab for Eric Young Jr., 2 outs. For the Achiever and you, PNC Bank with our minor league report. A.J. Cole could be here tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. 240 in 3 starts this year. 10 strikeouts in 15 innings. Great control numbers for one of the Nationals' shining prospects. Cole tomorrow night, if Tanner Roark, according to Dan in the clubhouse, has to work a lot in this one tonight. Cole came from Oakland with Blake Trinan in the Michael Morse deal back in January of 13. Ian Kroll was also involved in that.
I can't believe they're going to give Ryan something to hit right here. He's hit the ball right on the nose twice.
And of course, AJ had gone to Oakland when the Nats got Gio Gonzalez. That's a high strike, 82. I'm not sure he wants to throw another off-speed pitch up there. Target away. Seventh inning in Miami. No score. Mets Marlins. Is that game not on TV? They must be running out to the field between half innings. Zimmerman just got under one. Left field, Kelly Johnson getting some help from his shortstop, locating the ball, and the Nats are gone in the 5th inning. So tonight, only 3 hits in 5 innings halfway through the game. Braves 2-1.
Been throwing his fastball a lot this season, which isn't unusual, although he has been throwing it significantly more than in past seasons. Coming into today, Pfister has thrown 76% fastballs this year, up from 64% last year and 50% the year prior. Pfister talked about that after his last outing, saying that he wants to use that two-seamer and really be aggressive with it. But it's something that he's had conversations with pitching coach Steve McCatty about. McCatty pointing out that maybe Pfister can mix in a little bit more of that curveball, which has been showcased a little less with the increased use of the fastball. Cat says, I'm not going to tell him what to do. I can give him my pointers and my thoughts on it. He's going to do what he feels comfortable with, and so far this season, Pfister's been comfortable with the fastball.
Takes a little bit off there, 79 on the changeup.
Well, when it's sinking, it's all he needs. But that curveball is a good one. And that's usually his strikeout pitch, that big 12-6 curveball, at times below 70 miles an hour.
That was an 0-2 pitch down and into Stoltz. So each pitcher has sacrificed tonight. Stoltz once, Doug Pfister twice. That is nasty. 86, heavy sinkage.
Well, that's his best sinker of the night by far. Bottom dropped out of that one. Well, watch this pitch at the end. You see him, what I'm talking about, out front, on top of it, fingers on top of the ball, not on the side. Starting to get into a rhythm.
Next up, Nick Markakis. And a first pitch change up to him. Right in there, 1-2. Markakis a walk, a run scored in the first. Bounced out to Escobar in the third on that great dancing play by Ryan Zimmerman around the first base bag. That ball was hanging, but Danny Espinosa able to grab it. Markakis hit it hard, 2 down.
And that was a curveball we were talking about. He tried it for his out pitch, left it up. And Danny Espinosa on his toes. Pretty good swing by Nick Markakis. Always liked that guy as a player.
Simmons with 2 outs. Pop up to short, ground ball back to the pitcher. For their 25-year-old shortstop, who's already won a couple of Gold Gloves and the Platinum Glove. Escobar to his left, couldn't corral it. And an infield hit with 2 outs will keep Doug Pfister from his first 1-2-3 inning.
We told you about Escobar liking to play shallow. And he doesn't like the ball taking too many hops on the dirt, so he plays a little more tight than most third basemen. Nice effort right there, just because of him cheating up. He didn't have a whole lot of time to react.
Well, look out here, Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman will reach 100 home runs this year. In his 5th year in the big leagues, he's hit 90.
So you give him 10, just like that.
He's going to make it. Really didn't hit that many last year, 18
and
in 162 games.
And you're just giving him 10.
Oh, that would only make 14. I will make that bet with you right now.
All right, you're on.
This, of course, by the end of the season, not this series. He's on his way to a great career. 2 All-Star games. Inside edge, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
2-1 changeup right there, beauty. He was going.
Simmons 0 for 1 stealing this year. That one will put him maybe on third base. Espinosa retrieves, guns it across. Oh, the ball is waiting, and then it gets away. Escobar had it, and I wonder if Simmons kicked it out of his glove, and Yunel Escobar might have been spiked on that play. Throw beat him by a mile.
Yeah, great throw by Espinosa, and that was a late tough slide by Simmons. Let's see, Espinosa grabs it, bare hand, throws a 1-hopper. Right on the money. Escobar with 2 hands, and Simmons coming in late and hard.
Boy, did he.
Because he knew he was out. Look at, he looks right here and he knows he's out. And he knows Espinosa's got a good arm. He sees the ball in front of him, and he just sticks his cleat into Escobar's glove.
Wow, that's late. He's lucky he didn't break his leg on the bag. Escobar leaving.
I mean, they didn't even think about it. They just took him out of the game.
So an
Let's
error.
look at it one more time. Looks like he took one more step and then just dove feet first right into his glove.
And the Atlanta fans giving Dan Uggla a rude reception. He'll come out and play second base, and Danny Espinosa will go over to third.
I just hope you know Escobar's okay.
Runner at third base, 2 outs. Lewin inside, 3-2 to Freeman. Freeman, did he check? He did not. Throw to first ends the inning. Freddie Freeman just stops, and the 5th inning is over. So the Nats don't give up a run despite the 2-base error.
after he was called out on strikes.
So we got a whole lot going on at once. First the Simmons slide at third, then the curveball, the out pitch from Doug Fister, a nice one. And Freeman thought he had walked. He looks down, double take to third base John Hirschbeck. He says, what? And we'll look at it from the side. Did he go? And he didn't. Freddie Freeman's as good as I've ever seen at checking a swing. We used to talk about that on the broadcast last year. I think the Nats caught a break right there. And Freddie Gonzalez still out talking to John Hirschbeck about his first baseman getting ejected from this game. And I think he's got legitimate beef. Let's go back to the play at third base, too. A lot of people are going to think this is dirty. A lot of people are going to think this is a hard slide. I mean, he knew he was out. He saw the ball beat him, so his only resort was to slide late and slide into Escobar's glove. And watch him take the extra step. He should have slid right here, but then he takes another step right there. And it's almost like he just decided he was going to run into the out, and then I'm going to slide the last second. I'm sure the Braves will tell you he's playing hard, and I'm sure there's a few people in the third base dugout that thought that was late.
Well, there's a bit of a history between these two clubs, and Simmons has been in the middle of some of that. So Freddie Freeman ejected, and Chris Johnson will take over at first base in the 6th inning for them.
Do you remember when John Hirschbeck ran Bryce Harper on a check swing call? Very similar to that.
He got who?
Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
And it was very controversial. And I think Hart flipped out and it was on all the highlight reels. Same kind of thing. I guess if you flinch, John Hirschbeck thinks you went.
Top of the 6th inning. 2-6-0 Braves. 1-3-2 Nats. And Worth leads off and takes one that misses low. A walk and a taken called third strike for Jason tonight. And a ball ripped out to left. And right there to grab it, Kelly Johnson.
See, that's why the numbers don't always tell the story on how a hitter's going. He's done that, I don't know, 5 or 6 times since he's come back, and everybody's about Jason Moore struggling. That was a nice at-bat.
And with more, here's Dan.
Guys, batting average on balls in play is a stat that's taken off in the last few years. The average across the league is typically around 300. When you put the ball in play, you're going to hit around 300. Jason Worth is hitting 219 this year on balls that he puts in play. It indicates some bad luck. Worth says he's feeling good at the plate. He's hit a lot of balls hard. He's just not getting the results so far.
There's Bryce Harper. Takes the first pitch for the first time tonight. He has grounded out and walked. Counts even 1-1.
We could have some fireworks here tonight. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And not after the game.
On a pitch up, it's in there at 80. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Bryce gets jammed enough. High fly to center. Eric Young, 2 outs.
Bryce almost got to second on that pop-up.
Now they'll announce Dan Uggla. Nats box, not a whole lot again tonight. The doubles in the third by Espinosa and Zimmerman, and a leadoff base hit by Danny Espinosa last inning. Dan Uggla was here from 2011 through 48 games of last year. I wasn't aware that the parting was brutal, but evidently some people here think it was. Maybe they're booing him because he hit 179 and 162 his last 2 years here, and probably never fulfilled what they thought they were getting when he came from Miami, when he had been so productive for the Marlins. But that's when Dan was having a lot of the eye problems and had a hard time seeing the ball. Check swing, strike one.
They talk about hitters having protection. Bryce Harper's got boo protection behind him right now.
First time anybody's been booed
louder than Bryce.
Louder than Bryce in this ballpark. Hugla swings through a 89 fastball, 1-2.
Boy, he'd like nothing more than to run into one.
4 for 35 is a net. And that's outside, ball 2. Got him looking. The bats are quiet again tonight. 3 Ks for Stoltz. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Washington Nationals.
Nats 1 run on 3 hits, 2 errors. Braves 2 runs on 6 hits, no errors. The Nats will finish up a 3-game set against these Braves at Nats Park on Sunday, May 10th. That's a 1:35 game. Bring mom out to the ballpark for Mother's Day. We'll provide flowers, compliments of Harris Teeter to moms as they exit the ballpark. That's while supplies last. For game tickets, visit nationals.com. All right. Mother's Day at the yard. Perfect.
A.J. Pierzynski leads off, bottom 6. Strike 1. Again, not showing any interest in the first pitch. 281 career hitter. A.J.'s 38 years of age now.
Kind of funny, the Braves are all in rebuilding mode, kind of shooting toward 2017. And their 2 best players right now are 38 years old. Pierzynski came in hitting .382, and Jason Grilli is 7 for 7 in save opportunities, and he's 38.
Yeah. Well, you still have to win some games for your fans. They don't want to sit around and watch 100 losses for 2 years. Asking them to pay major league prices to watch ball games.
Well, the funny thing is with Bethancourt, he's the 23-year-old prospect at catcher. He's hit just 147, and Freddie Gonzalez is trying to send the message that you have to earn your spot at the major league level. He's going with a hot hand in Pierzynski. But if you're trying to develop, for me at least, you got to have some growing pains with a 23-year-old catcher that you're grooming to be your future, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, he's making no progress sitting on the bench right now. I mean, A.J. Przinsky's going to be on quick pitch in a couple of years. This other guy's going to be their catcher. I mean, if you're rebuilding, don't you go with the young guys?
You would think. Braves box, Freddie Freeman 2 for 3. Ejected after a controversial strikeout. And some good hitting up and down the lineup by the Braves tonight. Przinsky. And now he has a 10-game streak, 14 for 36. That was a hanger. He banged it. Makes Ryan Zimmerman young over there. Here's Callaspo walking a base hit. The Nats are just being continually out-hit by the teams they play. 7-3 tonight. 14-4 yesterday in Miami. Saturday, 12-7. Friday night, 9-6 in a 3-2 game that was in doubt right till the end. But I mean, they're just being dominated by the other team's offenses compared to their own. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's going to change. There's just too many good hitters on this ball club. Just a matter of time. Pretty good pitch.
Two on, ground ball needed here, but that's a pitch up. The Marlins scored a run in the bottom of the 8th. The Mets are batting in the top of the 9th in Miami. Ground ball, Zimmerman. He'll just have to settle for 1 now. Ryan figured if I can get to the bag real quick, maybe a chance at second. Celebrate the season with the American Standard All-Star Sales Event. Visit MidAtlanticComfort.com for amazing rebate and financing opportunities. And right now, last year, we look at some numbers. Drew Storn against the Braves. I mean, big-time job against them.
4 for 4 in save opportunities, and he was on the mound for the clincher. Got the ground ball to second. As Asdrubal Cabrera made the play. And we were watching those highlights before the game today, and I turned to you and said, remember how smooth Asdrubal Cabrera was at second?
Yeah.
He was fun to watch play defense every night. Gave you a good at-bat, great pickup down the stretch.
Yeah, that was really the only move Mike Rizzo made at the deadline last year. The ball club was pretty complete.
A sneaky good move.
He's in Tampa now, Tampa Bay. Pfister not happy with himself, missing by a wide margin. It's 2-1 to Kelly Johnson. A called third strike and a base hit in the 1st and 4th innings for him.
I don't know because I never pitched, but I would imagine this is where, as a pitcher, based on how your offense has gone all season long, minus a few games, you're thinking to yourself, I can't give up another run. We're already behind by 1, which seems like more than 1 based on what we've been doing lately. And you really start to press right here and grind and thinking, I can't give up another run.
And a ball hit high and deep to right. Bryce Harper back. Home run. And the Braves lead it 4-1. Kelly Johnson, 3rd of the year. And the 134th of his 10-year big league career.
That ball stayed in the air forever, and I did not think this was getting out. It must have got up into some jet stream because he hit this straight up the elevator shaft, and I thought Bryce Harper was going to have plenty of room for this. Bryce turned his back and sprinted, so he obviously knew this ball was carrying farther than I thought it was. And that fan almost fell over, but you're thinking, I got to be perfect. I can't make a bad pitch. You leave one out over, and now it's a 4-1 game. And
Hard swing and a foul tip by Jace Peterson. He has a base hit and a sac fly. It's another hit. 3 out of 4 batters in this inning. Left-hander Matt Grace. Doug Fister due to bat 4th in the top of the 7th. Nine hits by the Braves.
Saw Matt Williams today in the lobby, and I said, hey, do you realize it's better to be doing this right now than later? And he said, yeah, absolutely. I go, better now than in September. You know, get this bad stretch out of your system early, figure it out. You'll have a bunch of W's coming. It's almost like a perennial 300 hitter that struggles in April. It's 5 months of hits coming when you have a bad month if you always hit 300. And his response was, FP, it doesn't make it any easier than what's going on right now. And I said, I understand that. He said, it's part of the job. You know, I said, probably a lot of sleepless nights right now, Skipper, huh? And he said, yeah, but you got to grind. You got to keep going. You got to keep playing. But most of all, you got to keep believing in yourself that you have a good ball club, and you just can't let that doubt creep in. Once you do, then it gets even tougher.
Here's Eric Young Jr. in the number 8 hole. Espinosa shallow at third. And that ball gets away from Ryan Zimmerman. Gonna have another runner going to third on a pitcher's throwing error. Second straight inning. The Nats have made 3 more errors tonight, and a major league leading 21 in 20 games.
And they're all routine plays. That's the tough part. Of all the errors the Nats have made this year, it's not like, well, let's see how they score this. That was a tough chance. They're all very routine plays that have to be made at the major league level. That's why you're sitting here scratching your head every night, because A, you're not used to seeing this ball club play this way, and B, these are plays that need to be made.
Suicide squeeze, and they do it. It's a great call by Freddie Gonzalez. Infield was in. You got a good bunter, good speed guy, and Eric Young makes it 5-1 on a suicide squeeze with the runner coming down the line hard.
And the key to a squeeze is watch how late Eric Young Jr. shows it. Did he step on home plate right there? Because if he stepped on home plate, he's out. And that's a play you can review. And it looked to me like his cleat might have hit the plate.
Well, too late now. Another pitch has been thrown. Eric Stoltz, the hitter, now enjoying a 4-run lead. The Mets just got 3 in the top of the 9th at Miami. And a ball high in the air and heading out of play. And the pitcher checks in. 4 hits in the inning. Matt Williams has to go get his starter. Didn't want to do it until maybe he pinch hit for him. In the top of the 7th, and Doug Fister's going to go 5 2/3 in Atlanta tonight and giving up nearly a dozen hits.
Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch track widget, and more every night on every device. Yeah, 2-seam fastball, slider, 2 pitches. Good sinker.
Scoreless 6th on a hit and a strikeout in Miami yesterday. So through 3 appearances, 2 innings, 2 hits, a walk, a strikeout, no runs. It'll be Grayson Marquez here, and then Andrelton Simmons, which could be interesting. Nick Marquez, a walk, 0 for 2 tonight. (5-1) at Atlanta. 3 runs here in the 6th. (90). Right in there, low in the zone. Then he goes with the hook. It's up the middle. Not an easy play. Ian Desmond right there at the bag. Had to fight that hop. 6 unassisted. Inning over, but Atlanta has taken command.
Mercedes-Benz of Alexandria. 5-1 Braves as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Let's go back to the 5th inning. Andrelton Simmons spikes high into Yunel Escobar. Escobar had to leave the game. And we've had no reports on Yunel Escobar. Freddie Freeman, after a check swing where it didn't look like he went at all. John Hirschbeck said he did. He put his hands on his helmet. Hirschbeck said, you're gone. Freddie Freeman had to leave the game, not because of injury. Freddie Gonzalez would come out and argue for a while, and in case you missed it, Andrelton Simmons set to lead off the 7th. Who knows? Like I said before, I'm sure there's a few guys in the third base dugout that thought that was a little bit dirty, and I'm sure there's a few guys in the Braves dugout that thought that was a late, tough, clean slide.
Ian Desmond, Wilson Ramos, Danny Espinosa, top of the 7th inning. Well, the Nats and Braves had a lot of problems a couple of years ago. Bryce Harper kept getting hit time after time. Steven Strasburg threw behind a couple of Atlanta hitters, including Simmons. 2 divisional rivals not fond of each other at all.
wondering about Doug Fister. He has been not Doug Fister-like, even in spring training. I mean, walking guys, lots of fly balls. And you hope it's not health related, you know? His velocity was 83 the first pitch of the game tonight, which
concerning.
Yeah, that I've never seen that with him. So
Desmond gets under one, out into center. Eric Young Jr. And Ian Desmond is 0 for his last 13.
the PA announcer here is calling him Wilson Ramos.
Well, give him another 5 years. He'll have a chance to get it right. Danny Espinosa on deck, by the way. And Ramos rams one to left in front of Kelly Johnson. Wilson Ramos swinging the bat pretty well lately. That's 12 hits in his last 10 ball games.
Well, that Ramos kid can hit. I don't know who Wilson Ramos is, but Wilson Ramos just drilled a single to right. So maybe you keep calling him that. Who knows? Either way, nice swing by the Nats catcher.
Espinosa steps in. Reed Johnson on deck.
Has been the offense tonight. A couple of hits. Double to right center first time up. Single to right second time up.
Left-hander's Luis Avilan. And the right-hander is Cody Martin. Espinosa takes one upstairs.
And maybe even the most uncharacteristic thing of Doug Fister tonight was he made 2 errors. He's, in my mind, the best fielding pitcher in the National League. Or one of them.
3-1. Time given. Espinosa on a pitch up, couldn't get there. Counts full, 3-2. Mercedes-Benz will track a good heater.
Hey, 89 letter high. Probably ball 4, but that's where his hit was last time too.
And Bill Welke has had a bit of a high zone tonight. Target in. Espinosa hits one straight back. Ball launched way high, way foul. Well, the Mets have nailed down that game at Miami. They got 3 in the 9th. Familia the save. They win 3-1 to break the Marlins winning streak. The Mets are 15-5. 3-2 again, and Espinosa continues a good fight here.
He's in swing mode right now. Eric Stoltz doesn't necessarily have to throw him a strike here. 3-2. He's swinging. Good at-bat work and good battle.
Nice at bat by Danny Espinosa. 2 on, 1 out. Reed Johnson, a former Brave, coming in. That's his 3rd walk of the night. Every time the Nats walk, it's $50 to support Girls on the Run DC. So on the year, 63 walks, $3,150. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield contributes that money and encourages all of us to take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. Pinch hitter has been announced, and Freddie Gonzalez is going to his bullpen. Stoltz will pitch 1 out into the 7th inning. This one still up for grabs. Union, proudly serving the armed forces and their families for over 80 years. Navy Federal Credit Union. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code DUGOUT for free entry. Breezy night in Atlanta as we play in the 7th inning here. And here's Cody Martin. Rookie, 7th rounder back in 2011.
Or Cody Martin. Either one works. Fastball 89, slider.
Well, he's from California,
81,
Dos Palos.
Curveball 73. It's pronounced last names however you want, Knight, here at Turner Field.
Here's Reed Johnson. Nats getting their first look at this right-hander. 2 on, 1 out. Top of the order after this. Reed Johnson could change this game in an instant.
Just need base runners. Keep the line moving. That doesn't necessarily have to.
That hit him.
That hit him.
Or is the umpire saying foul ball? Umpire saying it hit his bat.
You can review this. You can challenge this. Matt Williams already put his hand up. They're going to check this replay.
Yeah, Bill Welke heard something. Nats want a challenge.
They're challenging. We got a challenge. Let's listen. Well, there's definitely 2 sounds. I couldn't tell right there. What do you got, Carp?
I don't know. That side shot. Impossible. The ball goes by too quick. Here's the one slight redirect, and it may have just ticked off the top of his knuckles there. We'll see.
Is there enough to overturn it, though? That's
I know.
what we've learned.
That's what teams have learned the hard way for a while. This one might take a bit.
Well, they have really big TVs in New York with a bunch of different angles. So we'll see. But like I was saying, you just need base runners right now. So this is a big play. Get the tie and run at the plate. Check it out.
I don't know.
I can't see it. I can't tell if it hit him. I don't think it did. Just from that angle.
Well, Bill Welke heard something, because it would have to be impossible to see it.
Yeah, he can't tell. And we watched it 4 times and we can't tell.
And they showed the replay on the board here in Atlanta. I would call it making an 18-inch putt type applause.
Well, the fact that Reed Johnson has put more pine tar on his bat pretty much tells the whole story. Wow, Reed
It
Johnson.
hit him. They're going to send Reed Johnson to first base. How about that?
Reed Johnson had his helmet on. He was putting pine tar on his bat. He was ready to go back in the batter's box. And they awarded him first base. Maybe that's the break the Nats need on offense. Something going their way. And like I said, there's different angles in New York. And I'm still not seeing it. But
their TVs are much bigger than ours. We found that out before. The tying run is suddenly in the batter's box in Denard Span. You got a rookie pitcher out there making his 11th appearance already. Martin's been good. 10 games, 12 innings, 14 Ks, 2 walks. Span 0 for 3. Got to get the ball out of the air here. 2-0. Third base Ramos. Wilson let the ball into left field after 1 out. Then Espinoza worked a really nice walk. Johnson grazed by the pitch. And Span drives one to deep left center. Eric Young will catch it. Nats will only be able to advance 1 runner, and it's a 5-2 game, and that's a good out for the Braves. Denard Span, 3rd RBI in 7 games.
A nice at-bat by Span, getting the run in, making it a 3-run game. And now Ryan Zimmerman, who swung the bat very well here tonight, has a chance to tie this thing up or at least keep the line moving. Good at-bat by Denard.
They play Ryan up the middle with Jace Peterson, the second baseman. A lot of room between him and Chris Johnson at first. And Zimmerman looks at a breaking ball that's low. Right off the end of the bat. 90 boring in on Ryan. Couldn't get to it.
It looked like faster than 90, didn't it?
Sure did.
It had some giddy up to it. Ryan Zimmerman trying to tie this game up in one swing. Why not? Let it rip. I like the swing. Aggressive.
Yeah, that was 90. That's the latest I've ever seen Ryan for 90. But that's what the gun said. And a 1-2 now. He has to protect. Got him looking. Outside edge. And the Nats will settle for 1 in the 7th after having the bases loaded with 1 out. Hyundai 7th inning stretch from Atlanta. The Braves on top, 5-2. AJ Pierzynski, and career against the Nats, the classification of our Honda do-ups here. AJ Pierzynski going crazy, even though a limited sample for him. Haven't seen him that much over the years. Simmons and Johnson, the Nats have seen them a lot.
Well, fastball's been averaging 88 for Rafael Martin, but it's been playing faster than that. It's been missing a lot of bats. Slider has gotten him into a little bit of trouble recently with the long ball. That's averaging 80 miles an hour. 4th appearance, ERA 11.25. Righty's hitting 368, and Simmons, Andrelton Simmons, leading this thing off. Message sent.
Kind of what we expected.
Yeah, we got action.
Yeah, some Braves are out of their dugout. Freddie Freeman, he wants Rafael Martin ejected here. You know, the umpires, there don't have to be warnings for them to throw a guy out if they think intent is there. And several of the Braves are beyond the confines of their dugout rail. The Nats are all behind their railing. And I think everybody understands what happened here.
I think they understand what happened, and I think they expected it, but I think Freddie Gonzalez is saying that Martin should be thrown out. The umpires are talking about it.
Would they change their minds and eject him here?
I think
no, they just give warnings. Both dugouts warned.
Well, it was low. And it's how you do it if you're going to do it. Not up around his head. Message sent. Somebody got thrown out.
Somebody from the Braves tossed. There's Chris Johnson. Get a ground ball in the infield here. Things could get real interesting.
Well, we said that there was going to be people in the third base dugout that thought it was dirty, and they took care of it. And I like the fact that Simmons just went to first base. Yeah. Almost like he knew that he was going to get drilled. They did it the right way, below the waist.
Well, and
Simmons had no problem with it. He knows that's the way the game polices itself. He went to first base, and I think it was handled the right way.
It was. And that was similar to when Strasburg hit Upton here. And Upton did the same thing. Put his head down, went to first base. We thought it was over, but at that point, a little thereafter, we found out it wasn't. Because then another pitch went behind Andrelton Simmons. Right through Ian Desmond. Taylor-made 6-4-3 double play ball in terms of how hard it was hit. And that'll be Ian Desmond's 9th error of the year.
Well, we talk about how fast this infield plays, but it was right at Ian Desmond on a hop, and it looked like the ball stayed down a little more than he thought it was going to. Watch the ball nestle. You know, usually that's going to hop up about knee high. It stays down right through Ian Desmond, and the Nats' 4th error of the night. 4th.
A.J. Pierzynski now.
I'm being told Johnny Gomes was the one who was tossed.
Okay.
And that makes sense. He's a fiery guy, always on the top step.
Okay, I'll cross him off their list of extra men. Off-speed pitch outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Pierzynski lifting one to center. It's going to back up Denard Span. Simmons comes home, and it's now 6-2. A.J. Pierzynski, a base hit and 2 sac flies. Next up, Alberto Callaspo.
It looks like Ryan's having trouble with the throw over tonight. I mean, Doug Fister was charged with 2 errors, but he wrestled that one right there after letting a few get by him. And, you know, that's a new thing over there at first, and we're sitting here talking every night how good he's been, but there's those little nuances, like a low throw over on a pickoff that, you know, he's had trouble with tonight. I will say this, I've been here since 2011, and this is the worst stretch of baseball I've seen the Nationals play, period.
I can't say that.
Well, been here
years before that, yeah, you came in at a pretty good time, my friend. But point well taken. But I will say this, defensively, it's been as sloppy as any 20-game stretch in the history of this ball club. That ball, hooked foul.
But that's getting back to my point about, you have to take this personally. Each individual, that, hey, we're so much better than this. And quite frankly, right now they aren't. But over the 6-month period, I think it's going to play out. I mean, there has to be the look in the mirror and take this personally at this point. And you have to elevate your game on an individual basis. You can't point your finger at the guy next to you or the guy next to you. You just have to do it yourself.
Runner on the move. Throw short by Ramos, and no chance for Desmond to tag out Chris Johnson. On the strikeout, Callaspo down, 2 outs.
Time for our T-Mobile game changer, and it was a home run by Kelly Johnson in the 6th inning. Helium ball right here. Doug Fister was supposed to be down and away, left it up and in. I didn't think it was getting out of here because he hit it so high. But it did, a 2-run homer for Kelly Johnson. T-Mobile game changer.
Base hit earlier for Johnson. A guy who has struggled in recent years to keep his batting average at times over 200. He had some productive years here early in his career. 219 for the Yankees last year. 231 for the Orioles. 160 in between for the Red Sox. Best season here was 07. 276, 16 homers, 68 RBIs. And a chopper right side. Zimmerman charges, scoops it up before it goes foul, but they call it foul. So Ryan tried to get it before it spun to his left.
Yeah, just the last second kind of trickles foul. Ryan tried to get it before it went foul. Pretty close.
Tailing up and away, Kelly Johnson hanging in there.
3 more days in April.
Yeah,
Nats
looking forward to some May flowers.
Yeah, they need May 1st in a big way. A W in a big way, May 1st in a big way, and to play better baseball in a big way.
Two. Kelly Johnson drills one to center. It's going to bring in another run. Chris Johnson in, and it's now 7-2.
Kelly Johnson came into this game hitting .206. He's 3 for 4 with a home run.
Both runs in this inning unearned. Nationals have now given up 17 unearned runs. And a handful more, at least, with plays not made.
Jace Peterson, the hitter. 2 for 3 with a sac fly. And Martin misses away, 3-1. According to the Nissan pitch track, not one strike thrown in this at bat. One right on the edge. 3-2 runner going and a walk. Rafael Martin's last 2 outings have been rough. Eric Young Jr. next, and Steve McCaddy on his way out.
I don't think Matt Williams wants to go any deeper into his bullpen right now, and I know it doesn't look like it, but there's still 6 outs to play with, and stranger things have happened. But the way the offense has been going lately, 5 runs looks like 10.
Well, Tanner Roark, we're told, if he doesn't pitch tonight, will start in Scherzer's place tomorrow. Eric Young Jr., the number 8 hitter. '83, good changeup. Out of play, left side. It's Cameron Maben for the pitcher Cody Martin if the inning continues. Fastball missing up and away.
I mean, a head scratcher tonight is the Braves just got beat by the Phillies in a weekend series in Philadelphia, and you thought, okay, you're catching this team at the right time, and they come out swinging and put 7 runs up.
That they have. Well, the Nats hand them 2 in that inning. 8th inning to go. Worth, Harper, and Ugla due up in a moment.
7 runs, 11 hits, no errors. Nats Plus is back for 2015. Features incredible benefits, including discounts, exclusive events, and more. For a limited time, new members can also receive an official 10th anniversary Nats jersey that's while supplies last. Go to the website, nationals.com/Nats Plus, and join today.
Eric Young Jr. will move over and play left field. And then Cameron Maben will be the new center fielder. I think that's got to be Maben straight up for Kelly Johnson because the pitcher's still in there. So no double switch with another inning from Cody Martin here. Jason Worth, a walk and 0 for 2 tonight. Strikeout, a line drive out to left. And a 1-2. Well, the Nats had a possible spark earlier tonight. With the runner picked off second, they immediately scored a run. And FP, just when you see a flicker of hope, a couple of innings later, it's gone and you're down by a bunch of runs. I mean, you and I are talking about this ad nauseum. I guess you're just going to have to come out and score 4 or 5 runs in the first inning some night and blast away from there because the Nats are not hanging with other teams right now. Your thoughts? And there's Worth down on strikes.
Well, that would definitely help. But how do you turn this thing around? I guess that's $1 million question right now. And if they knew the answer, they'd have already done it. But they're stuck in a vortex right now. And how you turn it around is just, it's your attitude and your approach. The same thing I talked to Ray Knight about in the postgame show. And you come out and you play as hard as you possibly can every single night, and you start doing that on a consistent basis and playing better baseball, just play better. It may not happen overnight. It's not going to be like flipping a light switch, but if you do it consistently, like I've said earlier in the show, in the game, you're going to win way more games than you lose with this ball club. But right now, they're stuck in this vortex of waiting for something bad to happen. I mean, we all are kind of, and it used to be the opposite. You're wondering, okay, here comes the 3 spot. Here they come. Line's going to move. They're going to come back. But they're just stuck right now, and it's something that's going to take a minute to get out. And if the Braves keep playing, I mean, if the Mets, keep playing the baseball they're playing, and you're 10 games back in May, now you got to play 650, 700 baseball to catch up to a team that only needs to play 500 baseball the rest of the year. So you don't want to let this thing get too far away, and you don't want to say that, hey, it's okay, it's early, because early can get late in a hurry.
Yeah.
But I think it's just your approach on a daily basis of grinding it out and playing the game the right way and knowing that it's not going to change overnight and it's going to take a minute.
To me, the last time it's early is about the 10th or 15th of May. You know, then it's time to be the ball club you're supposed to be.
Well, it's time right now, but it's just not that easy. You can't just say, okay, we're playing good today. We're going to play better. But getting back to my point, it's about personal pride right now. And it's about taking this personally, that hey, you're way better than this. And Matt Williams knows that. And I believe it's going to change, and I believe it's going to change soon. But it just seems to be the same thing every night. A mistake here, a mistake there. The hitting's not there.
Dan Uggla goes up ripping and fouls one back, called out on strikes. His first time up tonight, taking over for Escobar, after Escobar appeared to get spiked by Andrelton Simmons. And Uggla drills one to the gap in right center. Bryce Harper racing around will score. Uggla into second. He's going to keep on going. And the Nats get a step closer at 7-3. Ball gets away, and it's a Little League home run for Dan Uggla. So the Braves make a mistake to hand the Nats a run. Are they booing their own players or Dan Uggla for hitting a ball really well?
Who cares? This just turned into a 3-run game.
It'll be an RBI triple and a throwing error.
Keep grinding. Keep working. Little cutter away. Dan Uggla, nice job when he's going that way. I mean, we never saw him hit a ball to the right of second base as a Brave. So that's a nice piece of hitting by Dan Uggla. Going in the gap in right center field. Gets a triple. Simmons throws it away. Well, doesn't really throw it away. It just gets by Callaspo. That's got to be an error on Callaspo. And at the very least, now you have to get your closer up if you're the Atlanta Braves. That wasn't the case at the start of this inning.
There's Desmond with one out. He takes a breaking ball that goes through A.J. Pierzynski. On the corner to Ian Desmond, 1-1. Peterson on the throwing error. And Ian Desmond hits one out, upper deck. Right side, the count's even 2-2. Holds on way too long, ball 3. Outside, good at bat, Ian Desmond. 2 walks around to triple here. That'll bring in Wilson. I believe his last name is Ramos.
Freddie Gonzalez already going to the bullpen. And now he's got to go to his Abe bullpen that maybe he was thinking about resting tonight. So, hey, big at-bat coming for Wilson Ramos. Never know.
Yeah, inning and a third for the rookie, Cody Martin. After he took a breather, it didn't go well for him when he had to come back out. The Nats are alive here. Nats know him pretty well from his days in Baltimore with the O's at the major league level from 06 through 13.
His fastball this year averaging 94.5. It was 93.6 last year, so up a tick. Curveball 12% of the time at 80. Changeup 13% of the time. at 88 miles an hour. And Wilson Ramos, the Buffalo, trying to keep the line moving.
Ramos' career against Johnson, 1 for 1 with a single. Jim Johnson was with Oakland and Detroit last year. Braves signed him as a free agent on a 1-year deal last December. Ramos base hit to left last time up. No need to wave at that one.
Even though Jason Grilly's 7 for 7 in save opportunities, it's the fastest, it's the most save a Brave closer has had in his first year in the month of April. I'm still glad that Craig Kimbrell's not down that bullpen right now.
You better believe it. Simmons waits, turned, and thrown up against the dugout netting by Jace Peterson. They get the lead runner on a 6-4. No error on that play because Ramos never went beyond first base.
Ian Desmond went flying into second base, and we are going to look at this one again, folks. You want to play hardball? We'll play hardball. Let's see the slide by Ian Desmond.
That's late. Nice.
It's late, it's tough, and it's just like Simmons. So
there's Danny Espinosa. He'll turn around, bat left-handed. 0 for 4 career against Jim Johnson with a couple of strikeouts.
well, the slide kept the inning alive.
Sure did. Clint Robinson, big, strong left-handed power guy, if the inning can somehow continue here. That ball gets away, way upstairs, off the glove of Przynski, and Ramos to scoring position. On a very wild pitch upstairs.
It's a big at bat. Make it a 2-run game here.
One and two. And the curveball stays away. Jim Johnson, 31 years of age now. 51 and 50 saves for the O's in 2012 and 13. Danny takes it on a play to the left side. Espinosa just gets a piece. And Danny Espinosa will pop it up. Jace Peterson under it. The Nats will pick up 2 runs. They will strand their 7th base runner of the night.
For kids. The Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by a Nats pitcher this season. Aaron Barrett taking the mound. Fastball mid-90s, slider mid-80s. And we'll see who's going to pitch tomorrow for the Nats. Matt Williams before the game said that if his bullpen is taxed, he will go with A.J. Cole, and if not, he would go with maybe Tanner Roark. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know if he would consider tonight taxed or not.
The bullpen, if Barrett closes it out here, will have pitched 2 1/3 innings. Rafael Martin probably took himself out at least until Wednesday by throwing 31 pitches. Matt Grace only threw 2 to 1 hitter.
I'm good with either guy. I think they're both good. I'd like to see A.J. Cole get his major league debut. That's always fun watching a kid do his thing for the first time. And we miss Tanner Roark on the mound every 5th day, so either one.
Yeah. I'd have to go with the veteran. You know, voicing our opinions here. Tough spot to a rookie to step into, and the ball club's not going well. But we've heard great things about him. Can't wait to see him pitch. We know he will at the big league level very soon. Phil Goslin for the pitcher, leading off the bottom of the 8th.
The one thing I would say is Tanner's not real stretched out to go deep into a game where Cole is. So we'll see.
Phil Goslin hit .377 in 3 years at Virginia. Played on 3 NCAA Cavalier teams. That's in there. 26 years of age from Westchester, PA. He was an All-American his junior year, hit .382 in Charlottesville. And Barrett had an extra little gear on that 94. That got up and in a hurry.
Jason Grilli, 7 for 7 save opportunities. He's perfect.
There's that nasty slider. Wow.
That's how late this is. Little sweep to it. And from the side, yeah, bat went a long way. Good pitch.
That's one of the best sliders I've ever seen him throw that didn't get buried into the dirt. So Barrett takes care of Goslin. Top of the order, Nick Markakis, seeing Aaron Barrett for the first time. High riding fastball in there at 95.
I like the front hip fastball that Barrett's featuring this year. He threw it at times last year, but he's thrown it more to lefties where he'll start it right at him and run it back. And when you have the slider come back the other way with that, that's tough.
That ball hit well out to right center. Bryce Harper will take it on a hop off the wall. And Nick Markakis has a 1 for 4 with a base on balls. That'll be his 3rd double of the year, and all 3 of his extra base hits, doubles, no triples or home runs. Andrelton Simmons is next.
You know, getting back to him getting hit last time, I think what you're seeing in baseball this year is a byproduct of guys getting fined for throwing inside. When you talk about what's happened with the Royals a lot and guys whizzing 95 over people's heads, kids nowadays, the way they've been brought up in baseball, they don't know how to hit guys. Because even if they pitch in, they're fined. In the minor leagues, if you hit somebody, you get suspended.
Yeah.
So now when you finally go to drill somebody and your manager says at the highest level, we got to hit somebody, they're just letting it wing over their heads. And you could really get somebody hurt. So I think the way the Nats handled it tonight by drilling him in the lower half, that's the way you do it. But it took a veteran guy in Martin, a 30-year-old guy that's been around pitching Mexico and knows how to do it. But most of it's been a byproduct of guys sliding hard into bases this year. And I think whatever you think about Lowry sliding into second base hard in that whole Kansas City thing between the A's, it's not whether you thought the slide was good or bad. It's how they handled it. And guys aren't programmed nowadays not to fight. In the old days, if you slid hard into second base, you're brawling right there and it's done. Mm-hmm. Nobody's throwing at anybody. Everyone's fighting. You get it over with. Maybe you get a black eye or a broken nose or something, but you're not throwing 99 at somebody's head. And that's just the way the game has evolved with all the fines nowadays, in the sense that you just don't seal the deal right there at the bag. If in the old days, if you thought somebody slid in hard, it was 25 guys on top of 25 guys and you were going. Nowadays, because guys don't know how to hit people, they don't fight, they throw at people, and they throw at their heads.
That's a nasty strike-em-out slider. Aaron Barrett for the second out. It'll bring in Chris Johnson.
That's a buckler right there.
Ooh.
Nice.
Johnson hit that ball that went through Ian Desmond last time up. And Wilson Ramos had to reach long to the backhand side. Chris Johnson, career 1 for 1 with a single against Aaron Barrett. Base hit. Worth up with it. Throwing home. It is late. Batter ends up at second, and the Braves have taken this out to beyond save range at 8-4.
So Chris Johnson off the bench for Freddie Freeman. Gets himself a base hit and an RBI. Jason Moore's arm doesn't look 100% yet either.
Here's A.J. Pierzynski, who's had a couple of sac flies. A base hit, 1 for 2, and a run scored. Nats have given up 27 hits in the last 2 ball games, and the home team they're facing hasn't had to hit in the bottom of the 9th. He's got some kind of slider going tonight. One ball, one strike. So Jason Grilli sat down in the right field bullpen, and Luis Avilan appears poised for the 9th inning. There's Luis Avilan. The Nats know him very well. For the last couple of years, he's made 9 appearances so far. League hitting a .179 against him. Late swing. Boy, 93 with almost splitter changeup type movement. Emergency hack on a slider.
Caps won Game 7, so that's good news. 2-1.
Right. Two. Just late for that ball and guiding it out to Ian Desmond. This one going to the 9th inning. The Nats need a big inning, down by 4. Big. They don't want to equal their longest losing streak in 2 years. They'll be facing left-hander Luis Avilan.
A fastball 93, curveball 77. Lots of changeups at 83 miles an hour. 10th appearance for Avilan. 4 strikeouts against 1 walk. League hitting 179. Lefties 250, however. Righties just 083. He's got a good changeup.
That 25-year-old right-hander. He's been busy here the last couple of years. 13 and 14 combined. 137 appearances. First up for the Nats will be Tyler Moore. And Tyler will be facing him for the first time. Tyler did not get an at-bat in the Miami series. The last time he's been at the plate was a pinch hitting appearance at home on Thursday night when he hit a ground ball. Avilan turns one over on him, 81 on the change. And to the right side, right off the end of the bat. Jace Peterson pulls his first baseman off the bag. And Tyler Moore is safe. That could be Peterson's second throwing error of the night.
It all started with an error by the Braves second baseman, the greatest comeback ever.
On a routine play.
You see him double tap the glove right there? That's not a good thing, and I think by double tapping the ball in the glove, he looked up. Tyler Moore hustling down the line, had to hurry his throw. And another routine play for an error.
Here's Denard Span.
6 errors in tonight's game, not sponsored by Rawlings.
Span 0 for 7 career against Luis Avilan.
And Jason Grilli just popped up.
Well, they get 2 men on, becomes a safe situation. Way inside, ball 3. So Ryan Zimmerman may not be facing a left-hander here.
Load him up, see what happens. Take one more?
Sure. Avilan will walk some guys, 25 Ks, 21 walks last year. Gets that call, low in the zone. And Denard Span's going to strike out looking. 1 out. Had some strikes low in the zone. That was a fastball up.
Top of the zone had to be if it was a strike. Denard thought it was up. Pitchtrack thought it was a strike.
And now Ryan Zimmerman will face the lefty with only 1 man aboard. Tomorrow night, decision to be made on the starting pitcher. Julio Teheran, 2-1 with a 4.64 ERA, goes for the Braves. Ryan Zimmerman against this lefty with a double, 1 for 6 career.
When you're struggling, it could be Julio Iglesias out there. It just doesn't matter.
I know he can change octaves. Can he change speeds?
Throws a lot of change-ups.
Ryan 1 for 4 with an RBI double back in the 3rd inning that tied the game. The Nats have played very little with the lead lately. This ball out of play down the right side. Quiet night in the yard here. 16,658 the announced attendance. Braves came in at 26,342. That's ahead of only the Phillies and the Marlins in average attendance.
Braves have never drawn well during the week. They're more of a
weekend team. Yeah.
Weekend team because people drive for so many hours and kind of make a weekend out of it. And they're the only team in the South.
They come from Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, the Carolinas.
You get good crowds on the weekends. I was told last year that's a big reason why they started that game around midnight, because it was a weekend deal and there was a lot of people that drove up. Still, I'm not buying it. Don't start a game at midnight.
2-2. Zimmerman a tapper to third. Callaspo. Ryan's going to beat it out. Oh my goodness, what's going on with Jace Peterson? The only reason he doesn't have 4 errors tonight is because 2 of his throws have hit the screen in front of the Atlanta dugout.
Yeah, he's got something going on. He didn't have a good transfer there, just like on the ground ball. He had trouble getting that ball out of his glove, got a change-up grip and launched it. This has just not been a clean game on either side.
Now, we did mention Ian Desmond really went after him on a clean, hard slide last time, so self-preservation. And that time.
Yeah, maybe he was feeling it. Maybe he thought Tyler Moore. But that's a benefit of going hard into double plays. If one guy does it, you start thinking as a second baseman, this is the way this ball club plays. And he was hearing footsteps right there for sure.
Final hope for the Nats is Jason Worth. Down by 4, 1 man aboard. They'll play behind Ryan Zimmerman at first base.
The same pitch that Denard Span struck out on, ball one. There's pitch one. Remember Denard's top of the zone? Turn pitch track?
Yep. Worth 0 for 3 with a walk tonight. And that's in the air to right. Nats bats are going to go quietly into the Atlanta evening in a ball game that took 3 hours and 8 minutes. And the Braves extend the Nationals' losing streak to 6 in a row. Not a pretty night for either team, but Atlanta did a whole lot more hitting.